So let's go through this. Managing the executive's email and calendar. Do you have your admin typically do this if you hire a VA that's going to be like an executive admin?
Yes.
All right. How about answering phones? This?
Not my phone, my personal phone. No, I answer my own calls,
Okay.
but yes, like company calls. Yes.
All right. Creating budget and expenses report.
No, I have a bookkeeper that does this.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say I don't do that either. I have a bookkeeper that does that as well. So that one just depends on where you're at. Handling correspondence, like I'm assuming if you're in-house, right, and you want to mail something over to them or
Yes.
email back and forth, junk.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Communicating with vendors. You have quite a few vendors for your team. Do you have them do that?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Taking notes and creating minutes of meetings. Do you have them sit in meetings?
Yeah, I do. So what we do is we'll record. So they're taking notes, and then we record the meeting, and then so for them to go back if they need to go back and make any updates or anything like that. So yeah, we definitely rely on VAs to write up minutes, and also we've had people transcribe entire conversations. So like exact
Oh,
word for word, like it's almost like creating a like
wait.
a little pamphlet.
Do they go back to the recording and do they use an app for that or software?
You know what? They just use Zoom, and I know there are apps out there that will transcribe, and maybe they use those. I don't really. I just give access to the Zoom.
Actually, Zoom has that. They just go in there and correct the wording, so it's right. You're right.
Yeah, and you know what's nice about that is that you can go back and look at those conversations, and it's really helpful.
It's a good
Um,
idea.
Yeah, and why it's really important too is because I'm a big believer in creating processes for
Uh-huh.
everything that we do.
Yep,
So,
yep.
and I'm talking about writing out processes like SOP, standard operating procedures for everything. So
Okay.
this helps with that because then if I'm going over something with a vendor or going over something with someone on my team and we're discussing how to do a certain, process or certain task, and we have someone listening to that call and they write everything out specifically word for word for the entire meeting, I can go back then, or I can have someone on my team go back and pick out the parts of that conversation that we use as a standard operating procedure. So I'm not spending the time to sit there and like create a standard operating procedure. I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually leveraging my time by having a meeting to go over that process and then having someone write it out. And then as a result, we create a standard operating procedure. Does that make sense?
I love that, dude. You know what? I have a feeling that we're going to be able to have an AI sit through that and just send us the notes after, because that one can easily be replaced, that part.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, there's software out there that does it now. It's just, having someone like specifically look at every little thing, like there's no like missed words. Right now it's not perfect. The AI is not perfect.
No,
Those apps are not perfect.
but I could be like, hey, Siri, highlight that area that we just talked about 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, man.
That would be sick.
That's what you're gonna, that's why you come out with all these inventions. You got all the brains, dude. You're gonna make all the big bucks. Yeah.
Making travel arrangements. How about, do you use your VA for this?
I used to, but now it's just me and my wife. But I think you could definitely
Yeah.
use someone for that. Yeah.
I don't use our VA for travel arrangements. I find that I like to take control over that.
Certain things. Yeah. Mhm.
Developing an efficient documentation and filing system. You kind of touched on that with the notes and meetings. Do you let them take on that documentation and filing to make it more efficient?
Not necessarily. Like I'll create the filing process, let's say, or so. For example, we use a software to manage all of our transactions. It's kind of like a Sky Slope, right? That manages
Okay.
all the transactions. And then I also like to, because it's my old way of doing it, is I've always used a Google Sheet. So
Ooh, yeah,
although I had the software that's taken over, I still like to go back to the Google Sheet and like look at it. So I have somebody that's updating that regularly.